from what you're saying, it really seems like what you're trying to do in restoring a course is something that may be known as sympathetic restoration.
Well, that's the word, see, that was going to get me mad before.
Okay.
But you know, I mean, I guess you really can label it sort of that, because you know, you do try to carry out the original architect's intentions as best you can. And I mean, I just think the important thing to do, and we haven't met before, but I mean, I think Gil has his ego in check. I was expecting something a lot different, but he's a pretty nice guy.
That's amazing.
Huh?
You guys have never met before.
No, we never. But I do see. You know, I think that's I think that's what you have to do. You have to make decisions. And the way I work, you know, I used to do drawings that were just fabulous. You know, I'd send out these big packages of drawings that were just great. Now I send out one sheet, and I do 150 sketches in the field, and I send those back to the contractors, and that's how they build. But you know, you're always there's always a hole or two that really you struggle with. Maybe you know, you probably find it too, Gil. You don't have the answer, and maybe they become the best holes because you don't know the answer. You don't try to make every hole as difficult, you know, as possible. Ross, in a sense, and I can tell you a lot of things, but then Gil would know everything that I know, so I can't tell you some of these secrets. But some of the things there, he'll attribute it to me, right? But in a sense, if you really understand Ross's work, there were holes on his golf courses that were, I'm going to say this, par 2.5s, 3s, 3.5s, 4, 4.5s, and 5s, maybe a 5.5. So in a sense, you know, maybe one day you make a 3 and the next day you make a 4 on a hole because it's a short 2-shotter. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things you're trying to strive for on a golf course too. You don't try to make every hole as difficult as you can. It doesn't make sense really, you know, because you want that nice balance. I don't pander 1 second to the average player or the least skilled player. I don't lose a second's sleep over that. All I try to do is build the strongest golf course I can, but provide that guy with options if he's smart enough to take them. Now most golfers aren't, you know. I mean, one of the biggest problems in golf today is everybody thinks that somewhere in the rule book it says everybody is supposed to reach a green in regulation. You know, if it's a 2-shot, a par 4 hole, is some people seem to think that everybody has a birthright to get there in 2 shots. You know, but I never found it in the rule book.
No, it's not the rule book.
You see,
those guys back in those days, they never heard of anything called GIR. It didn't exist.
And they didn't care. They didn't care about it. I mean, they just said, "Look, this is the best golf course I can fit on this piece of ground. It's interesting. It's challenging, and if you really, you know, I've been to Scotland a lot of times, and have talked to some of the old timers. I always remember Dornick for a long time, and I would sit with these old guys who all they wanted to do was go out and pull their cart with their dog running alongside him and get some exercise and see the birds and the animals and play the best they could that day. You know, they weren't always measuring themselves against par. So we established this sense of failure here. We put those little 3s and 4s and 5s on the cardboard, you know. So par drives golf nowadays, and it shouldn't. You see what I'm saying? The fact that we put little 3s and 4s on there makes this member who's only educated in contemporary golf insists that we provide a way for Mabel to get there in 2 strokes. So then we have guys boast about, we got 6 sets of tees on their golf courses. I mean, I'd be ashamed if I had to do that. And so the way I deal with clients, I mean, I don't try to eliminate my work. Say, you know, I don't want this job, or mean, I want to do the best job I can for anybody who wants to work for me. But I try to create this great sense of guilt. You know, that's my mission, to get all the people understanding.
You are a churchgoer, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are, aren't you?
Yeah, I was going to sing tonight, but you have to realize that at the end of the day, your voice changes. You know, in the beginning of the day is when you're in your best form. So if we'd had this dinner this morning, if it was a breakfast meeting, you'd have been punished.
There's one other thing I'd like to.
Let other people ask a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But don't forget it, Tom.
My house.
But don't, it's his house.
It is his house, he is the,
Jamie's phone is absolutely.
as far as restoration, how do you balance, like, you talked about the architect's original intent with the distance the ball is traveling today as far as technology? Do you keep that same hazard, move it out farther to keep it relevant? I mean, obviously, if somebody wanted straight restoration, a lot of the hazards that we see, especially the Ronman,
Yep.
will not be.
What you do is this, it's simple, you don't do anything with the greenside bunkers except jam them in close to the green, which is where they belong anyway. You don't have to do anything with the bunkers at the leading edge of the fairway, which are sometimes only 150, 160 yards off the tee. You don't have to do anything with the approach bunkers that just sort of choke down the entrance. All you have to do is maybe move 7 or 8 bunkers on the golf course.
Okay.
The ones that impact the best players, if you can. I mean, sometimes you push it out of sight.
Explain that, if you can.
Yeah, well, sometimes the topography fights you, see. I mean, you know, I mean, that's sort of enough said about that. But there may be a half a dozen bunkers, maybe it's 11. But you know, how many? You're only going to have 10 driving holes on a golf course normally anyway. Let's say, or 14, 10 to 14 driving holes. So there may be that half dozen to dozen bunkers that really impact you as a good player. So I think that's the one place you can cheat a little bit when it comes to the purest approach to it. Now, the first thing you do is back up the tees if you can. And at Charlotte, we could. We restored a Ross course that was 6,800, and now it's 7,400. So in a sense, we could reestablish everything from the leading edge of the fairway to the back side of the putting surface, or the back of the green, and then didn't have to. We didn't have to really rethink all that because we.
It's a course like Marion.
Beg pardon? I'm right near the cupcakes, and I have a good arm.
Marion very well. What makes Marion 6,500 yards? The bunkers haven't moved at all.
What's that, Tom?
They're in the same place they were in 1960.
Well, look.
Or 1916. What makes those?
What really established the challenge on a great golf course. Look, Tiger Woods never hit a bunker when we won over in St. Andrews, and what was it? 2000. People don't understand. I was there in 1990. Nick Faldo hit one bunker, and he shot one stroke higher than Tiger. So that's pretty significant play in 1990. What really, the real muscle of a great golf course, and I think you'll agree. Maybe I'd be interested to hear what you think to amplify this. But I think the real test on a great golf course is the personality of the putting surfaces. To some degree, how tightly they're bunkered. But then what happens when you reach the dance floor, the putting surface? Yeah, and that's you see Marion and a lot of golf courses, Pine Valley and so forth.
I gotta say, Ron makes putting surfaces better.
They're great.
Yeah, there's some great.
They're great.
Have you seen them yet?
I have, yeah, no, they do.
'Cause I remember a couple
Did you
of
laugh?
years ago,
Did you laugh?
No, I think they're terrific.
Ron, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.